Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
You are knowing what you are wanting? It moves about a bit, doesn't it? You are appreciating your leading edge position. It is fun to be out here on the bleeding edge. You're enjoying the contrast that gives birth to the new desire. No, you don't really at all, do you? You are enjoying the focusing that happens in an environment of variety. And do you feel the power and the importance of your focus? Do you feel the importance of your decisions? Do you like being the focal point that Source responds to? We're wanting to find some new ways of putting this to you. Do you realize that when you ask, it really is given, whether you use words or you just have a desire burning in your belly? Do you realize that every preference, no matter how big or small, is heard and understood? Understood precisely. In other words, you cannot sift through contrast and come to your own preference, your own personal preference, the preference that is yours, that is not diluted by the biases of others, the preference that is yours, the preference that is born within you as you, from your vantage point, observe and conclude. Those preferences that sometimes you can't even speak. You know how when sometimes something happens and you say, oh, it is even better than I said I wanted? It is because Source understands every subtle nuance of every desire or preference that is born within you and answers it. So, what's this gathering all about? In other words, if it really is as simple as that, if you are born into this environment and you are leading edge creators, and as you observe the contrast, your personal preferences are born, and if when those preferences are born, Source answers them, then why have a gathering on deliberate creation? Why talk about the art of allowing? What is there for you to do? It sounds like it's all pretty well set up. And we say it is magnificently set up. That you, as the perceiver, must be a vibrational match to the preferences that are born. Because law of attraction says that which is likened to itself is born. You don't put your radio on 98.6 and expect to hear what is being broadcast on 101 FM. Jerry and Esther in the monster bus driving over here yesterday saw a truck driver really talking to someone. And Esther said, let's turn on the CD and listen to what he's saying. But they could not find him. They knew that he was talking to someone. He was animated, smiling, obviously having a very good time. They wanted in on it, but they could not find the frequency that he was broadcasting on. It was very discouraging. And so you understand that your transmitters and receivers must be in the same frequency if you are to have a conversation that works. And the same thing is true of law of attraction. It says if you have a desire that is broadcasting in one frequency and a receiver or belief that is broadcasting in another frequency, you're not going to have a connection that manifests for you, you see. And so this gathering we are calling Art of Allowing. Allowing meaning allowing vibrational alignment with that which is your source. And when you do that, all that you consider to be good flows easily into your experience. Sometimes, as you stand in a contrasting moment where you are prodded into a very clear statement of desire, and you say, oh, I want my body to be well, or I want enough money to pay my bills, or I want my lover to come back, or any number of things that your contrasting experience provokes you to. But as you stand with not enough money, explaining to almost everyone that you do not have enough money, feeling sad or worried or even panicked that you don't have enough money, you are not a vibrational match to enough money. You are a vibrational match to not enough money. And it does not matter how often you speak it or how hard you work. If you are vibrationally matching not enough money cannot come. That's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer and the sick get sicker and the well get weller. In other words, whatever it is you seem to be living, it seems to be easier to focus upon. And we understand that. It's easy to talk about what is. It's easy to look around in an observing format and say, this is the way that it is. This is how it is. But explaining continuously how it is not what deliberate creating is. That's deliberate regurgitating. Explaining how it is won't take you to a new place. It holds you in the same place. Explain how you would like it to be. And explain how you would like it to be so often that that's the easiest thing for you to explain. Practice explaining the way you want it to be until the way you want it to be is more often in your vibrational pattern. And when the way you want it to be is more often, just a little more often, in your vibrational pattern, things start turning for you. Esther and Jerry have been laughing because in the finishing of the new building back in Texas, they have had a lot of trouble with the floors. You may have heard this story before. And as they, only a different building. And so they hired a company, a very good-looking company. Their showroom was really magnificent. And they hired a company to do 4 phases of the floors. They would do the tile, they would do the wood, they would do the carpet, they would do the vinyl tile. And as the building floor project began, the tile would not lay down. It was a manufacturer's default, and the corners kept popping up. And when Esther saw it, she said, I know they will fix it. But under her breath, and to Jerry, she said, here we go again. And then she pleaded with them from her point of angst, please promise me that you will not lay the big rooms until you have discovered what is wrong in the hallway. And they said, oh, you have our word. And 2 days later, they had laid the entire vinyl floor. And 2 months later, they took the entire vinyl floor up. Turned out to be a very good thing, because the ceramic tile that they chose to replace it is much more beautiful. And so Esther soothed herself by saying, oh, the universe just sent us corrupt tile so that we could really get what we wanted more. And that might have been true if the next phase of the floor had gone well. But it didn't. The man who laid the carpet must have been a drunken sailor because the patterns did not match. And he had insisted on gluing it down, which made it a very big project in ungluing it. But eventually, with much angst and many phone calls and a lot of attention to what is, the carpet was repaired and now looked perfect. At least that was the word Esther was getting while she was in California. And then they returned to the center to find the wood floors had been laid. Not bad enough to tear up, but not really looking as good as Esther would have liked. And then the man laid the final wood on the platform. And again, different man, same drunken sailor. And so Esther said to Jerry, these are 4 different installers. Same company, but 4 different installers. I wonder what the common denominator is. We think she knows that the common denominator is, look at this floor is not right. Look at this floor is not right. Look at this floor is not right. Very hard to imagine a perfect floor when you are looking at the floor that the drunken sailor put down. Very hard to imagine a perfect floor when you are getting reports from those who are looking at the floor that they wouldn't accept it if it were their floor. Very hard to ignore what is. But if you do not ignore what is, you cannot get what you prefer. It is the most important thing that we teach. If you look at what is and what is pleases you, then more of what is will come. And you say, oh, I'm a deliberate creator. But if what is does not please you and you look at what is, you get more of what is. And then you say, something is wrong with the installer. And we say, Something may very well be wrong with the installer. But the bigger question is, how has he come, of all of the possible installers in all of the universe, how has this one made his way to you? And we say, until you take ownership of what comes to you, until you decide, I must change my vibrational frequency, then while you can always mold things into place, and there sometimes is fun in doing that, and it depends upon how much time you have. The sculptor likes to work with the clay until it starts to set up. In other words, sometimes it's fun to keep molding it, tweaking it just a little more. But our suggestion to all of you is that you get fixated upon something that pleases you and get your attention off of that which does not please you. In other words, make your statement. Shout to the universe, this floor looks horrible, I will not accept it, I do not want it, but then let it go. Do not take it as your responsibility to wrestle it to the ground and kill it. See it as your responsibility to point out what you want. We think that what has happened to so many of you, and it is certainly true with Esther, you have spent so many years justifying your existence through hard work that it's hard for you to just stand back and point. It's hard for you to say, this I prefer, this I desire. You feel like you have to get into the trenches and really make it happen and really suffer a little in order to deserve the good things that come to you. And we say, oh, that is so not true. You are worthy beings and good things are coming to you. You deserve all of them. It is your work to sift and sort and decide and prefer and point. And when we say point, we say point your point of focus toward that which you desire and practice it until it permeates the atmosphere around you, and then watch how the best of everyone make their way to you. We notice as we watch so many of you that there are aspects of your life that are going so very well, and there are other aspects of your life that are not going so well. And the only difference is, on those areas that are not going so well, you're giving them an inordinate amount of attention from a place of not being happy with where you are. We would like so much if you could really believe us when we say, find some aspect of your life that you adore and fixate on it, and give the other aspects of your life very little attention. Because your desire has sent forth the request, the universe loves you and adores you and hears you and answers you. So if you could just fixate upon the things that are working and let that be the basis of your vibrational presence, your vibrational radiation, your vibrational oozing, if you could just ooze things work in my life. Esther does that on most things. Everything works in my life but floors. And a few other things. But floors get her attention. Floors really, really matter to her. Floors are everywhere she goes. Floors have always mattered to her. And you know, we think she would be the first one to tell you that floors have been a thorn in her side almost from the first floor that she tried to orchestrate. In other words, floors just matter far too much. Floors matter way too much. Seems silly to worry about floors, doesn't it? But you all have your bugaboos. For some of you it's floors, for some of you it's women, for some of you it's men, for some of you it's your body, for some of you it's your employer or your employee or your sister or your mother or your brother or your child. In other words, there's always that thing that seems to get more attention than you really want to give it, but it just seems to need it. It just seems to need the attention. And what we're wanting to say to you is nothing needs your attention. And if you will begin to orient yourself to say nothing is more important than that I feel good, so that you are orienting yourself into the direction of that which pleases you most, your life will go swimmingly, and it will begin in the moment that you make that decision. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. There is not another thing that we could ever give to you that would matter a whit. Everything that we have just said pretty much sums up what deliberate creation is. It's find something that makes you happy, fixate on it, and let the good times roll. We're willing to stay around a little longer if there are some things you want to talk about, but there will be nothing really much more important that will be said here. You may discover as we are moving forward that we are not particularly eager to focus with you upon your issue. Or every floor in your house could be destroyed.